Hello everybody, this is the Retro Bear and this is the second episode of BJ and the Bear. Now this is the bits that we couldn't fit into the first episode. This is around about half an hour, 40 minutes or so, and we're talking a bit more about other interests we have, such as films and TV and other little things to talk about, YouTube as well, which we hope you'll enjoy. And don't worry, there will be a proper episode along very, very soon, which we're going to be recording in the next week or so. But we thought we'd put this out and just keep up the good vibes, as it were. So we hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you again very soon. But here it is, episode 2 of BJ and the Bear.
From 8-bit games to console wars, counting frames and keeping scores. Yes, they're old, but they don't care. It's BJ and the Bear.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because pop culture, I mean, that's the thing. We are, games is just part of it, but you're also wrapped up in the TV and the films. I watch more vintage TV than I watch current TV. I've just finished the last episode of Man About the House. I've been watching the whole thing back to back. Every episode. 6 series.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. I mean, I watched it a bit at the time as a kid. But the acting in it is brilliant. George and Mildred are incredible. I mean, seriously.
George and Mildred, seriously?
Yes, seriously. And now I've started Robin's Nest, which is the sequel series, like the spin-off, but which actually went for 7 series compared to Man About the House only went for 6, which is strange, isn't it? The spin-off did better than the original.
Because Man About the House and Robin's Nest was Richard O'Sullivan.
That's right, yeah.
Who nobody knows who we're talking about now.
They do. He went into an old people's home in about 1995, and he's still there. But he was quite young to be in an old people's home.
Has he not found the exit?
I don't know. There is a photo online. If you can find it and insert it in this, it's Richard O'Sullivan and Mike Yarwood with their arms around each other in an old people's home.
Of course, Mike Yarwood died at the end of last year, didn't he? Was it early this year?
And that photo got shown about after that. But yeah,
that was quite interesting because I got seriously into watching Mike Yarwood on YouTube after he died.
Did you?
Because I was fully aware of how good he was. And then when he died, I thought, well, I'll just see what was on YouTube. And then I just went down a rabbit hole for about a week and watched pretty much everything I could find about it. And he was so good. And it wasn't just the voices. It wasn't just doing, the voice. It was the mannerisms. He got everything down to T. You watch him do Frank Spencer. Not when he first started doing Frank Spencer, because quite frankly, his first Frank Spencer impression was shit. It really was. It wouldn't even sound like him.
First S-bomb on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are we doing this on us? Are we
just marking these?
Yeah, okay. I don't usually do things like that. That may get edited out, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But when he first started doing Frank Spencer, it was terrible. Then, as he got sort of later in the 70s, it was spot on. It was, he was absolutely spot on. And it was just the mannerisms.
Yeah, mannerisms. He was all about. Yeah, he contort his face and actually look a bit like him, didn't he?
Yeah. He would just literally go off camera and go like that with his hair, and he'd come back on and start doing the voice. You think, bloody hell, it's having so whoever he was impersonating,
Yeah. No, it's mad. Yeah.
Who else was in Man About the House?
Well, obviously you got George and Mildred.
Yeah.
We're in there. And the 2 women, I know the names because I've been reading them a lot.
You just watched 6 series of it.
I know.
You must know where they are.
The phenomenal thing about Man About the House is the lady who's in it, the main the woman in it who he falls in love with.
Right.
She's the only sitcom character from the early 70s, because I think the Man About the House started in 1971, and she's still working. She's in the Apple series Trying, and she's in that. She's plays the mother-in-law. It's amazing that someone can work from 1971 right until now. That's the only one I can think of who's actually still working.
I don't remember. I must admit, it's something I've never seen. I would never watch it really.
No.
I caught bits of Robin's Nest, which really looked quite dismally depressing.
Well, I'm only in the first series at the moment. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, you were in the first series, though.
Sorry?
You said you were in the first series. What were you playing in that?
No. Yeah, I was in the background waving. I'm not that old. Yeah, no, I actually loved Robin's Nest when I was a kid, so it's kind of. But I really, really love George and Mildred the series. I'm looking forward to getting to that. But I thought I'm going to torture myself by watching 7 series of Robin's Nest before I'd give myself the treat of watching George and Mildred, which I know I'm going to love because Brian Murphy is incredible.
You're a braver man than most. I'll give you that.
You love retro TV. You're always on about stuff and your discs and your films.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm like you. I'd rather sit down and watch something, that I'm very comfortable with, and I used to watch, years and years ago, and that's my sort of thing. And the whole thing about retro,
Yeah,
there is, it's not just the games. It's everything else. I mean, I've done videos about old stuff, and things like that, and I it's a sad way of doing it because why would you want to throw yourself into stuff that's in the past? Is it because there's stuff in the present which is not good enough, which is wrong? Because there's some great TV and stuff like that, but you always go back to what you know best.
I think there's like you said, the coziness. There is a warmth. There's an orange glow about everything you watch that is old. But I think maybe when you're younger, you soak in every details of things, don't you? It's like kids pick up, they're like a sponge, aren't they? Just pick up all this info. And I think anything you saw at that kind of time of your life, in your teens, say like, sort of like from 12 to 20, say, I think they just embed themselves and that you think, oh, that's the way things should be. And I just, for some reason, reintroducing yourself back into that world, it feels like this is how we should be. It's like I reminisce about my high street. My high street, the high street here is absolutely fallen to pieces, and I'm sure it's similar all over the country. But we all reminisce about the amazing shops we all used to go to as kids, and the amazing places we could buy stuff and the choices we had.
I think you'll find the reason it's falling to pieces is the excessive use of rack.
Of Iraq.
Rack. That concrete stuff that they put in schools.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You've got no idea. It was all over the news at the end of last year.
No, what is it?
Schools were built in the 60s and 70s using this combination of concrete and, I don't know, air. But, and it's so brittle and whatever. And basically, these buildings are unsafe.
Right.
And this material is called rack.
Oh, right.
So when your house street is going to rack and ruin, that's basically what it is. So things are falling down. That's because they've used this really sort of cheap concrete. It sort of looks like pebble dash.
Oh, okay.
Pebble dash is pebble dash where you come from.
Well, yeah, after a particularly bad curry. Yes. I know that.
But it's sort of that thing, and they use it to actually make buildings out of, not just render them.
Right.
And a lot of them got blown over by wolves in the 70s because they came along and huffed and puffed and blew them all down. But there was a lot of the news over last year because the schools, fork out millions and millions of pounds for renovations because they were told, oh yeah, this is the stuff we'll knock you a couple of buildings up, and 20 years later, they're all falling down.
And I don't actually think that's got relation to the demise of the high street, but I think that's more to do with Amazon.
Amazon?
I think so. I think it's Amazon.
Well, they had some sort of contribution towards it. But yes, you're right. The things like that, and it is exactly the same. High street's just falling apart. And so you think about what it was and now what it is. You just go back, don't you? Back in time. And
I do hate it, but that's why we're always looking back, because everything. I mean, I hate people. I'd hate my grandparents to be like, "Oh yeah, well I used to be like this," and you're thinking, "Well, that was the war. How can that have been better?" But now we're looking back to the 70s and 80s, thinking that was the time. Oh, that was the best time. But the 80s, particularly. I mean, the 80s is what that's our era, isn't it? And everything was going to the cinema was just incredible. You go to the cinema now, what is it? Well, firstly, it's like 60 quid.
It's not. It's very expensive.
You're watching a film of a sequel of a remake of something that is not going to be as good, anywhere near as good. As the sequel of the thing that you liked in the first place back in the 80s. I just watched the Ghostbusters, the new Ghostbusters. I watched that at the weekend.
I watched that last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Awful. I think it was summed up at the end and said, well, that was a thing, wasn't it? I sat there talking to Mrs. Bear. Well, that was a thing, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, terrible.
Our consensus, the family consensus, was not too bad, kind of what you expected.
No, we weren't as generous as that.
When's the last time you watched the originals, though?
Ghostbusters 2 not that long ago.
Oh, okay.
I'd say probably in the last 12 months.
Oh, okay.
The original one probably a bit longer.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think the second one's particularly a great film. But
No.
yeah, why bother?
Did you like
Why
the last
bother?
one, like the big comeback thing?
It was okay. It was
It had
better,
moments, didn't it?
better than I thought it was going to be.
The trailer
But
looked very exciting.
yeah, but I could find nothing redeemable about this one. You see, if he just turned up for a payday, you know.
James Acaster was in it, playing himself, which I liked because I like him. I've seen him live a few times.
The world's unfunniest man.
Well, you know, he just plays himself, doesn't he? But it was
Yeah.
weird to see him suddenly turn up in an A-list film.
Yeah, it's a shame himself. He's such an unlikable person.
Oh, you don't like him, no? Why don't
He
you like
won't watch this anyway, so it's all
No,
right.
he
So
won't.
I'm on about it.
He
Yeah,
won't.
he's too busy.
I'll tell him.
It was like, what? Yeah, who cares? You know, yeah. He's many millions in advance of this anyway. He's gonna start
I've actually
tuning
known
this.
James since he was first starting out.
Really? Or are you winding me up?
No, I have. I went to a gig
Oh,
he put
right.
on in a it was in a shipping container in Edinburgh, and there was
Was he being
7 of us.
deported?
And it could have been.
Yeah.
There were 7 of us in the audience, and halfway through, the power went. We're in the
Yeah.
pitch black in a shipping container, and we all had a bit of a sing song, and it was probably one of the best gigs I've ever been to. It was really good. So there, yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing, obviously.
That was the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, the thing. Yeah, okay, well, there you go. My opinion hasn't changed if you know him. I don't
No,
really
no.
care. Yeah. You'll speed dial him afterwards and let him know. Yeah. But there's just so little. That's why again, I can't get behind remakes. I think, well, why remake something if it was all right in the first place? Why
Well-
extend the life of something if it was all right in the first place? Leave it be. Leave it be.
This is a tricky, because you've got to bring it back to the world of gaming, haven't you? And when you have a brilliant I mean, what about if we only got Crazy Comics and we never got Mega Apocalypse? That would hurt, wouldn't it? That would hurt.
Yeah. Well, there is that, but is there a need for? Was there a need for 3 more Star Wars films after the second 3?
I'm not a massive Star Wars. I'm gonna get killed. I'll get killed for this.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive Star Wars fan. I have seen them all.
Mm.
I have seen them all, but I liked the one that everybody hates. You know, the one that everybody hates. What was it? The
Phantom
fourth
Menace.
Phantom
fourth
Menace.
one. Yeah.
No, I like the racing. I like the pod racing bit at the end. And I know, obviously, Star Wars Pod Racer on the N64. You could relive that, and I actually think that's a pretty good game.
It's a very good game. Very good game.
Yeah.
But I don't like. Yeah, the 7th film then in Star Wars seems like a retread of the previous 6. Just all the best bits taken out of it to make another film.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that one, Ross. Yeah, they're it's such a massive money-making machine, Star Wars, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
But you can't, us without, jaded outlook, we can't see it as anything other than a massive excuse for selling more stuff.
Yeah.
It's very hard to look at that and think, this is just for the artistic, just to add flourish and finish the story in an elegant way. No, it's not, because it's got tons of stuff to shift.
Yeah.
And our kids probably don't see it like that, but I think at our age, we connect everything to the franchise, and it doesn't seem quite as honest.
And did the new films really capture the imagination of the young people like they captured our imagination?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like Star Wars still.
Yeah, but it was a huge thing when we were growing up, wasn't it? It was absolutely massive. And then, the future generations who watched it, do they get the same excitement that we did? I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Did you watch The Mandalorian?
Yes.
And that wasn't that brilliant. That was brilliant, wasn't it?
It was, the first series was sensationally great, and then it slightly tapered off a bit since then.
I haven't watched the newest one.
I watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi spin-off.
I didn't watch that.
Didn't you?
No, but it's on the list. I will watch it. I just haven't got around to it. But I did think that brought it back. It made it feel retro. That first series of Mandalorian, the way the stories were enveloped, like a Glenn A. Larson, Knight Rider 18 kind of vibe about it.
Yeah.
And I thought they're pulling the retro in on this, and that's why I love it. That's why it felt like, yeah, this wasn't about a franchise. This was actually about making decent TV, and I really liked it. So maybe that brought in lots of kids.
It could have done. I mean, the theme tune was superb.
Oh, the music on that is incredible.
It's incredible the way they did it. Yeah, it's a really good series. Well, it was a really good series. We'll have to see how it turns out. Are they doing another one? They've done 3, haven't they? They're doing a 4.
They are doing more, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one more, I think. But it's the same with DVDs as well. Yes, some of those are quite hard to track down and worth a bit of money as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come across in a charity shop. I had a DVD. I've had a couple of these over the years. I had a DVD of Jeeves and Wooster. Remember Jeeves and Wooster with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie? Yeah. This was where people started falling asleep now and go make a cup of tea or something else. But going back in time, and it was the original DVD release. I watched them when they came out on the telly on ITV. I thought they were great. Then they put the DVDs out, and this original set was released and then went out of print very, very quickly. Now, about 5 years later, I was sort of looking through at Amazon, I think it was, and copies of that DVD were changed. That box set were changing them about £200. And I was like, whoa, should I sell it? Or should I keep it? If I sell it, I'll never be able to see it again. So I held on to it.
Yeah.
And I watched it probably twice ever since, just the last 20 years. And of course, not long after that, they repackaged it. And then I think now the original is now worth less than the repackage. And I think the repackage is worth about £7 or £8. So, it's one of those.
There's a time to sell.
Yes, there is a time.
But they don't do that with games. Nobody's reissuing Mega Drive games, like devaluing the old ones, are they? And if they did, it just draw more attention to the originals.
Well, this goes back in circle, depending on whether we cut it out or not. Going back to all these reissues in films and things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why not take a game like Action Girls Racing, which is horrible, and try and make it better? I don't see how you could, but try and make that better and then re-release it and see what happens.
I don't think they're going to concentrate on something that wasn't a hit, though, are they? You're better off.
Okay, right. Famous quote, George Burns, right? We know who George Burns was.
Yeah.
Not George Bernard Shaw, George Burns.
Yeah.
He said this in the 80s. He says, why do people insist on remaking old films that were good? Why don't they make old films that were bad and make them better?
Yeah. It depends what the problem was with the film. If it was the story, if the story's rubbish and not appealing, then you can't go far. You can't really.
Oh yeah.
By the sounds of this racing game, it sounds like a rip-off of Mario Kart anyway.
It is. Well, because it was a game that was cheaply designed, cheaply produced. It didn't just come out on the Wii; it came out on the PlayStation 2 as well. So,
with this take, you're saying like, okay, Grease 2, famously a sequel of a film that was famous but terrible, remake Grease 2, and actually, I think it'd be a massive hit. You're right.
Just don't call it Grease 2. Call it like Grease the New Generation or something. It worked for Star Trek, didn't it?
Yeah. Grease Plus.
Yeah, Grease Plus. Yeah. But that's it. Why not take something that was bad and try and make it better? I mean, I agree. If the story was rubbish in the first place, there isn't a lot of hope for it.
No.
But if there is a kernel of a good film, it's just been badly directed, produced, acted, whatever.
Yeah.
Why not take something? I mean, I can't much in terms of rights money for it. Hey, I'd like to buy the rights to this obscure 1970s film, which was terrible.
And because it's going to have a bit of well-knownness about it, a little bit of a head start in the knowledge, people being aware of it. So there is that.
Yeah, it is. I think there's some scope in that.
I think. What film are you thinking? You've obviously planned all this.
No, I haven't. I haven't contacted anybody about buying any rights or anything like that.
No, okay.
No, I'm just using it as a point in general.
Yeah.
Why take something which is cherished and loved by people from back then and remake it or redo it or stick another one on because somebody needs to pay for a holiday or something and they need the money?
I mean, with AI and stuff now, though, you can remaster in such an amazing way and turn something into a 4K amazing visual experience that maybe wasn't, say, something like Logan's Run, which I used to love when I was a kid. The film of that was brilliant. Or Westworld, them sort of films. But if you watch them now, they're, you've got to be a connoisseur like us to appreciate it, because they're square. They're obviously all, they're iffy. They're not. They're blurry because they haven't been mastered very well. They've been mastered straight off the VHS onto DVD. You could really revamp those into like blockbuster style good films, and there's probably a big market for that.
No, Westworld is a good film. I wouldn't remake Westworld. I'd leave it as it was.
No, but you could still 4K it up and make it look amazing.
Oh yeah. But then again, I saw the Blu-ray transfer of Dirty Harry.
And what was that like?
It's crystal clear, mate.
Is it good?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Is it?
I mean, it's an awesome film anyway, but that has been tidied up beautifully.
Well, I guess they'll might carry on doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But I'm more. I mean, there was what it came out 10 years ago. There was a 3D version of Jurassic Park they put back in the cinema for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
They thought, well, hang on a second, that wasn't filmed in 3D. But I tell you something,
it's good.
It's I've never seen it, but Mrs. Bear said she watched it and it scared the life out of her. So
surely she knew what was going to happen. We've all seen Jurassic Park a million times.
Yeah, we've all seen it, but have you seen it in 3D?
I haven't, no.
Yeah. So, but that's it. That wasn't shot in 3D, but they released a 3D transfer of it.
The things they can do, those experts, those boffins, in those Hollywood boffins can do anything.
Speaking about Jurassic Park, did you know originally that was going to be a stop motion special effects?
Oh, was it? That would have been interesting, wouldn't it?
Now, can you imagine that? We're talking about 1993 here. Okay, we've barely moved on from King Kong 60 years earlier, right? And that was originally designed to be a stop motion film until ILM got hold of it and said, "Hang on, we'll try and recreate something here." And they put a special screening on for all the executives of Universal and everybody else, just like a 15-second frame of a Tyrannosaurus Rex just walking towards them and past the camera, and the place, the standing ovation, people were hugging each other. They couldn't quite believe how realistic it looked. Can you believe how stupid that sounds?
Because it doesn't look realistic now, does it? It looks terrible.
Well, no, it's still no, because at the time that was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh God, yeah. I remember I went and saw it at the cinema when it first came out. I was blown away.
But still, 30 years ago, we still thought about somebody going, move that there, take a shot. Making Wallace and Gromit films. That's what they were doing back then. Yeah, to me, it just seems absolutely crazy that 30 years ago, that technology doesn't exist, and now we're talking about AI. We're talking about stuff now that you've got absolutely no idea whether it's real or not.
Oh God, we've moved on so far.
I know, it's crazy.
It actually comes back to that Ghostbusters film we both watched very recently. Yeah. One of my comments after that film was that the reason we took the first two to our hearts is because they were a bit hammy. The effects were a bit rough. They were a bit rough and ready. But now it's just like, there was one bit where the big monster comes in, the skeleton guy.
Yeah.
So CGI, and it's he's got a little tiny impossible waist, and you think, well, even if you'd made a model of that, it would have fallen over. It's not viable. It looks so computerized. Yeah, they go too far, don't they?
They?
Yeah, it's been this case for a long time since CGI came out. Let's be honest, films have kind of lost it a bit, and there is something. If you watch an old film like, say, Back to the Future or something, where it's all real effects and real stuff, you get caught up in the magic of it. I don't know why.
It always astounds me when they bring out a brand new game with people in it, right? and their faces still don't look right after all these years. They can say, "Oh yes, this has got the best hair effect or the best water effect." Sod that. Work on the bloody faces. Why don't the faces look right? Why do they look like they're no more slightly advanced than Morph? Every time I see this brand new game coming out with all this, I look at the face, I look at the eyes, I look at the mouth movement, and go, they still can't do faces properly, can they?
No, it's been like that for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess in Hollywood they would. They can bring people back from the dead. Didn't they made Robert De Niro look younger, didn't they, in that film on Apple? They did the same with
The
Leonardo
Irishman.
DiCaprio recently.
Irishman,
Yeah, The
yeah.
Irishman. And that was really impressive, really. They did look young again.
Hmm.
So,
That must be the reason the film went about 4 hours.
yeah, I'm still watching it. This is a dream I'm having in between.
It's a very, very good film. But yeah,
It was long, yeah. It
but
was
they did the same with the last Indiana Jones film as well. Indiana Jones,
Yes,
they
and I
did the same
enjoyed.
with Harrison Ford.
I say all that about CGI, but I did enjoy that film. Did
Did
you
you?
enjoy that?
No,
You thought it was rubbish?
I'm hard to please, me.
I think a lot of people, because it went really crazy at the end, didn't it? People think, oh, the ending is absolutely rubbish, but Crystal Skull ending is a lot worse. But actually, if you think about it, all the endings of all of them have been ridiculous. So actually, it did fit. It did fit.
Yeah.
And I thought the beginning bit with his pretend plastic face, his CGI face, was well done. It was impressive. I just like the thought that these old actors can give us one more go looking like that. I mean, you know, it would be tricky to use Michael J. Fox to make a new Marty McFly. I think that is.
But no, see, you're moving out of the area I hate. Stop talking about making extra films we don't need. Leave them alone.
I agree.
Yeah.
There was a big story this year, wasn't there, about a fake Back to the Future 4, and there's that fake trailer. Did you see it? I'm sure you got caught up in it.
I worked in about 10 seconds of watching it.
Yeah, it was rubbish, but it was still exciting for a second.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it was very well done and very well put together, but there was absolutely no way in the world that was going to be a proper thing.
Yeah, but
yeah, some people got too much time on their hands. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, imagine the traffic and the revenue they earned off that trailer.
Well,
nothing compared to what we're going to earn from this. Obviously.
Oh yeah. I mean, into the pennies already. This is great. This is. We might fill this job by 2028.
I do get a bit excited. I get excited.
That's because you're passionate.
I have a lot of comments about that, like, the energy is off the charts. But I think probably, I mean, we've met. I'm probably am a bit like that anyway, aren't I? A bit overexcited. Yeah. I mean, even this conversation, this is meant to be a more relaxed conversation, but I still get a bit excited about stuff. It is a bit of an abundance of passion, I think. Yeah. It's sexual frustration, probably.
You say that with the door shut. That's shut.
Okay. She will never watch this.
Yeah.
She will never watch this. It'll be fine.
I'm leaving it in.
I'm sure you are.
But no, I admire that. It goes what we say. Some people have a different approach, don't they? You've touched on that before now, how they do things. And I have a different approach where I talk for about 15-20 minutes without actually doing anything.
You do, but it feels like a catch up with an old mate when you do it. It's just there's a naturalness. It's just you.
Lucky I was going for that when I first started doing it.
Was it?
Yeah.
It feels like that. It just feels like a catch up. Oh, here he is, and like an old friend catching up. There's a couple of comments I've had from people who like my show.
Yeah,
and I've had very, very few breaks from doing it since I started. But someone said, it might have been Justin. He just said, life doesn't feel the same when the show's not. Yeah, and that it means a lot. But you think, so his life doesn't feel the same when I'm not doing this show. And you think, well, you have quite an influence on these people's lives because they're watching you every week. It's an honor, but it's also a responsibility a bit.
Yeah,
it plays on your conscience. If you want to have another holiday, dare you have a holiday? I'm like, oh no, I can't have a holiday because those poor guys. What are they going to do?
But that's the thing, you see. People look forward to it because you try and get your video uploaded for Friday tea time-ish.
Yeah, it was 8 o'clock. I missed your chips, didn't I? I missed your chips last week.
Sorry, we had sausage sandwiches on Saturday morning. We watched it with that instead.
Oh, that's good.
I still got the same indigestion I usually get when I watch your videos, but that's all right.
That's even if you're eating nothing.
But people look forward to it. So if it's not there at, say, 8 o'clock in the evening, you think, oh, perhaps it's not going to appear tonight. It's going to appear tomorrow morning or whatever. And then if it doesn't appear at all, then people do miss it, which is probably a credit to yourself.
I guess. I think it was a good thing to focus on that particular one day. You might have noticed I've stopped putting out the little shows in between now. I'm just going to do Fridays.
Yeah.
because it was getting too messy and people they're getting notifications all the time. And I think it was actually affecting the traffic of the big show because people are just like, yeah, whatever, I've seen it.
Yeah.
So just concentrate on the Fridays again. Yeah, I don't know. There was a reason why it was late on. This is really going to be boring. You cut this out. But the reason was, I'll tell you this. This is a YouTube story, right? The reason why the show was late on Friday was because when I uploaded it, I got a copyright strike. Okay, and I know you've had these issues too. And it's because I showed it was 8 seconds. It was 8 seconds of an eBay advert, right?
Yes.
8 seconds of it because I talked about eBay and I showed a little bit of eBay advert, but with my own music underneath it. So there was no audio. So I clicked on the 8 seconds. What is the problem with this 8 seconds? They said you can't use this. This is banned from this country, loads of countries. Big like you can't use it. You know, it's copyright, whatever. And the person raising the copyright, really building up to the punchline. The person who holds the copyright is Charlton Athletic FC.
What?
Exactly. So it's my original music and an eBay advert, but Charlton Athletic, they're putting their foot down. You're not putting that out, Jase. You got to fiddle with that and get it. I didn't in the end. I just put it up with the restrictions.
What was their reasoning for it?
Just said I don't own it. I don't own it. That's that piece of film is their copyright and they own it.
So there must be
I put a claim in. I put a dispute in.
There must be a shirt or something in there, or
I didn't even think about that.
That's
think about that.
That's the only thing I can think of, or I can't think what. Because I got one for showing Marvel versus Capcom 3 on the telly in the background, right?
Yeah.
And I got one because there was a bit of I left it on the attract mode, and there's a footage of Spider-Man in there, like an animated sequence, which is lifted from a Spider-Man animated TV series I didn't know about.
Right.
Now, who do you think complained? Marvel? No.
Spider-Man?
Capcom? No. Spider-Man? No. Rosemary, the telephone operator? No.
Hong Kong Fooey?
Yes, there we go. Yeah. No, it was somebody in some firm in Germany. Germany complained about it.
How do I see it if it's in the background?
Yeah, and I thought that's weird, isn't it? And you know my story about being picked up for the medley in Aladdin, being played on the Mega Drive. You know.
Yes.
I mean, if I sat here and played it on the panpipes myself, I probably wouldn't have got a strike. But for some reason, and that was turned right down with me talking over it, like you said about the eBay stuff.
Yeah.
I was talking over that, and for some reason, there's a 8 second bit where I obviously didn't talk enough.
And yeah, if you read YouTube, you know, your stuff that you get as a publisher thing, they're like, oh yeah, use people's stuff, put a different spin on it, and use other people's stuff. They're actually pushing you to use other people's stuff, and then saying you can't use other people's stuff.
I don't know. I don't see how some people get away with it. I look at other people's videos and go, how have you put that in there and not been done?
Yeah.
And as soon as the very first gameplay art video I ever did, I played, it was a jet ski game on the PlayStation 2. I can't remember what it was now. And the game started with a track, and I left the track in. I thought, that's quite a nice track, you know.
Yeah.
Turns out it was a licensed piece of music, wasn't it?
Was it?
By somebody I'd never heard of before.
But they licensed it for the game.
Yeah. And because I didn't put a credit on and I used it, it got a copyright claim. And it wasn't a strike, it was a claim. So I couldn't, you know, I could have left it where it was. I thought, that's a bit off. I'm taking that down. So now, anything that sounds reasonably licensed, I get very paranoid about using it.
I've had one taken down for Wipeout. I've had one taken down for Tony Hawk's, but they are proper music tracks that are in the background. Yeah, but it is a minefield because you want to show a bit of gameplay, and you're stuck.
Well, yeah, it's a game, but it's music. I mean, you know, you want to use proper licensed music. You'll be very careful about what you use. I try to change because I realised last night I've been using the same music on my pickups videos now for 4 years. I thought, God, I've got to change this.
Well, that guitar music thing.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I know somebody else who's doing much better than I am uses that as well. So I thought I need to find something to change it. So I thought about 6-8 months ago I'll find something different. I found a piece of music which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And I used that first time, fantastic, no problems. Second time I used it, copyright claim. Why didn't you pick it up the first time?
Weird.
So I didn't use it again.
I need to supply you some music, don't I? No copyrights on my music.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
For free.
And what's even sillier is I've used the Play Your Cards Right theme tune about 5 times now.
Yeah.
And I've not been hit for that once at all.
And think of the bridge ladies that I keep showing. That bridge
Yeah.
music, which is
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I use it all
Mind
the
you,
time.
mind you, I think everybody's ever heard of that, have they? that's what it is.
Someone wrote it once though, and it was a brilliant genius who wrote that. So
Yeah.
Mm.
It's weird. You're scared to do something all the time now. So do I do this and get struck off?
But the problem is with me, because I'm always running to a deadline, so I get it uploaded, and then you don't find out until it's actually processed, and sometimes that can take an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then you're left, and you're thinking, well, this is the time I'll press go. It's like live, and I'm stuck. Do I try and fix it? Do I let it go with the? And eBay says, not eBay.
Charlton Athletic. Yeah.
YouTube says, oh, this you can still use it. You can put it up. It won't affect traffic. It bloody does affect traffic. Everyone I've ever listed that's got a copyright issue has not got the same traffic as other videos around it.
Really?
Yeah, there's definitely something going on with that. I think it's certain countries it restricts.
Oh yeah, because it goes all the way around the world, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
copyright moves changes from country to country and things like that. Aye, then, that's your lot. Thanks very much indeed for tuning in. And like I said at the start, we'll be back with a brand new episode very, very soon. Hopefully a bit more gaming related chat, but we hope you enjoyed that and gives you a bit more of an idea of the sort of things we may come across in future episodes. But until then, on behalf of my mate BJ, this is the Retro Bear saying thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
From 8-bit games to console